Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really get into the things that matter, try and cut through some of the noise, and hopefully bring you insights that, can genuinely make a difference. Today, we're diving into a concept that feels, well, more urgent than ever, really. Cognitive flexibility. And it's not just another buzzword, is it? It's a crucial skill for navigating, well, the world we're in now, which is changing so fast. And we'll explore why it's as vital today as it was during some really key moments in history. Our thinking for this deep dive is sparked by some fascinating research from Ellie Lin. It's titled Cognitive Flexibility, the Key to Survival from the Renaissance to the AI Era. So our mission today is pretty clear. Let's unpack what this actually means. Let's look at its surprising historical weight, understand why it's so critical right now in the age of AI, and maybe most importantly, give you some practical ways to actually build this skill yourself. Ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it. So cognitive flexibility, what are we really talking about? Basically, it's your brain's agility. It's an individual's ability to smoothly adjust how they think, how they behave. And this adjustment happens based on, changes in the environment, new demands in the situation, or maybe just getting new information. It's not some abstract idea floating out there. It's a core part of what psychologists call the brain's executive functions, right? Think of executive functions as your brain's CEO, maybe. Those higher level skills for planning, focusing, remembering things, managing impulses. Cognitive flexibility is right up there with working memory, holding information in mind, and inhibitory control, which is, stopping yourself from doing the first thing that pops into your head. And there's a simple way to think about it from the source. Imagine your usual way of doing something just stops working, flat out fails. Some people would just freeze up or get really anxious or, just keep banging their head against the wall trying the same failed method. But someone with good cognitive flexibility, they pivot. They can quickly switch their mindset, look for new angles, find different possibilities. It's really about adaptability.
That makes perfect sense. That distinction is so clear. And it immediately makes me think about, well, those big moments in history where whole societies had to pivot, right? And the research points to a really fascinating one, the Renaissance. It calls it a huge cognitive flexibility experiment, which is such a great way to put it. A time when people really broke free from those very rigid, religious, and old ways of thinking from the Middle Ages.
Oh, absolutely. The Renaissance is much more than just beautiful art, isn't it? It's like a living lab for cognitive flexibility. You see these amazing examples of what the article calls cross-domain fusion. Look at Leonardo da Vinci. We think painter, sure, but he wasn't just a painter. He was an engineer, an anatomist, someone who just blended art and science like they naturally belong together. That's a perfect example of breaking out of those single-track ways of thinking. And then you have Raphael's painting, The School of Athens. It's incredible because it's not just a masterpiece. It actually shows the coexistence of different viewpoints. You've got Plato and Aristotle representing opposing philosophies right there in the same space. It's like a symbol that different, even conflicting ideas could exist and, maybe even enrich each other. And crucially, Renaissance thinkers were constantly connecting old ideas with new ones. They were looking back at classical wisdom, but with fresh eyes, while also creating totally new knowledge. So yeah, the whole spirit was about flexibility, openness, not being stuck in just one way of seeing things.
That's really compelling, seeing it laid out like that, how a concept like cognitive flexibility wasn't just abstract, it was like actively shaping an era. And here's where it gets, well, really striking for us today. The source suggests we are living through another huge transformation, with AI taking off. And it draws this powerful parallel to the Renaissance.
It's a really profound comparison, isn't it? When you think about the scale of the change, just like people back then had to break out of the absolute framework of religion and tradition, we now face a kind of similar challenge. We need to break through this old assumption that, only humans can think and create. AI is fundamentally changing that game. So this raises a huge question for all of us, right? How do we adapt? How do we thrive when our supposed unique advantage is being redefined? And the key takeaway here is that cognitive flexibility isn't just helpful. It becomes, once again, absolutely key to survival.
Okay, so if it's the key, the survival skill for this modern Renaissance, what happens if we don't have enough of it in this AI era? What are the real world downsides for people, for teams who maybe struggle with being flexible?
Yeah, the research points to some very real challenges. You might see people rigidly resisting new tools, like sticking hard to old methods, unwilling to even learn about AI. And frankly, in today's world, that can lead to being phased out pretty quickly. It also often brings this deep sense of anxiety, maybe powerlessness, feeling like you're being left behind. And in teams, oh yeah, it can cause real friction. If someone just can't accept new ways of working, new models, maybe collaborating with AI, it creates conflict. Things get out of sync. And
Yeah.
ultimately, it can really limit your career path. If you can't adapt, can't cross domains, can't integrate new tech, your future options just start to narrow a lot.
Wow, okay. That definitely paints a stark picture. But let's flip the coin. What about the upside? What does having strong cognitive flexibility really empower us to do in this new AI landscape?
Well, the benefits are pretty compelling, actually. People with high cognitive flexibility, they tend to be quick learners. They don't necessarily see AI as this big, scary threat. They see it more as a tool, right? A new capability to get good at. And this opens the door for incredible cross-domain integration. Think like a modern Da Vinci, maybe. Someone who can weave AI into different industries, different fields, creating totally new solutions, maybe even new kinds of jobs. They also tend to have stronger emotional resilience. They approach change less with anxiety, more with like curiosity. Okay, what are the opportunities here? And that resilience is basically a launch pad for innovation. It helps people find new value, carve out new paths, even when things feel uncertain. So when you look at it that way, it's really clear. In this AI era, cognitive flexibility isn't just nice. It's, like the source says, a new kind of survival IQ.
Survival IQ. I like that. Yeah, it really brings home the stakes, doesn't it? Now, for you listening, you might be thinking, okay, so how flexible am I? And actually, the research includes this neat little self-assessment tool, just a quick way to kind of gauge your own mental agility.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. A good way to just get a quick pulse check on yourself. Basically, you rate a bunch of statements from 1 to 5. 1 is strongly disagree, 5 is strongly agree. Some are phrased positively, things like, when my usual methods don't work, I can quickly think of alternatives. Makes sense. Or, I can see the same thing from different angles. Or maybe I'm willing to try new methods, even if they might fail. That's a big one. Another good one. When plans get disrupted, I can stay calm and adjust quickly. But then there are a few that are reverse scored. So for these, a high score actually means less flexibility. Like when I encounter unexpected situations, I tend to freeze or become anxious. If you strongly agree with that, it suggests lower flexibility. Right. So once you add up your score, there are some rough interpretations. A score of 40 to 50. That suggests you're generally very flexible. Pretty adaptable. If you're in the 30 to 39 range, that's kind of moderate. Maybe you get stuck sometimes, but mostly you can adapt. Scores from 20 to 29, that suggests lower flexibility, maybe a tendency towards rigidity. And if you score between 10 and 19, well, that's a sign that flexibility might be a real challenge and maybe exploring ways to build it, perhaps even seeking some professional support could be really helpful.
That's a great little check-in and a powerful reminder, isn't it, that this isn't fixed. It's a skill we can actually develop. But yeah, remember, this assessment is just a snapshot. The real gold, and what we're about to dig into now, is how to build that flexibility. The material breaks it down really nicely into 3 practical areas: how we think, how we act, and how we manage our internal psychological responses.
Exactly. So let's start with the thinking exercises. Brain training, basically. First up is multi-answer thinking. Okay, so when you hit a problem, your brain often wants to find the right answer, right? The single solution. This exercise forces you to push past that. You deliberately list at least 3 different solutions, like the example given. Your go-to dinner spot is full. Okay, instead of just giving up, you think. 1, try that new place down the street. 2, grab takeout and have a picnic. 3, just cook something simple at home. The benefit: it literally trains your brain that there's almost always more than one path. It breaks that single solution habit. Okay, next one. Gray area training. We tend to fall into black and white thinking, don't we? It's either a total success or complete failure. This exercise challenges that binary view. When you catch yourself thinking in extremes, try placing the situation on a spectrum instead. The example used is great. Instead of, I skipped the gym today, I'm a total failure, you reframe it. Maybe, okay, I didn't do the full workout, but I took a 30-minute walk. That's still progress. It seems small, but it massively reduces that harsh self-criticism, increases flexibility, and helps you accept nuances. Much healthier. And the last thinking exercise is reverse thinking. This one's interesting. You take a belief you hold really strongly, something you think is just, well, true, and you intentionally try to argue for the opposite. So if you always believe efficiency is king, always better, you ask yourself, could going slower sometimes, being more deliberate, actually reduce errors? Could it lead to a better outcome? Maybe even be more efficient in the long run? This really pushes your mental boundaries, helps you avoid getting stuck in your own assumptions.
Those sound incredibly useful, like little mental workouts to rewire how we approach things. Okay, so that's thinking. What about behavior? How can we actually act in ways that build flexibility in our day-to-day lives?
Right, the behavioral side is about putting it into practice. Three key methods here. First is small changes practice. This is all about intentionally messing with your routines, just a little bit. Introducing tiny uncertainties. Doesn't have to be huge. Could be just taking a different route to work one day, trying a different brand of coffee, brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Sounds silly maybe, but the cumulative effect is that it helps your brain get comfortable with change, with things being slightly different, instead of automatically resisting it. Okay, second, role-playing and situational simulation. You can do this with friends, colleagues, even just by yourself. Imagine some kind of sudden situation like an unexpected question pops up in a meeting, or your travel plans suddenly change drastically. Then you practice improvising your response. This directly builds that on-the-spot adaptability, makes you quicker on your feet when real curveballs happen. And finally, number three, challenge your comfort zone. This is about deliberately trying things you're unfamiliar with, things that feel a bit awkward or new. Maybe learning a few phrases in a new language. Taking an improv class, terrifying for some, I know. Trying a sport you know nothing about. The point is to cultivate flexibility when you feel out of your depth. It exposes your brain to totally different patterns, making it more agile overall.
I like those. They sound kind of fun, actually. A good way to stretch yourself without massive pressure. Okay, so thinking, we have behavior. What about the internal stuff? The psychological adjustments. How do we build flexibility from the inside out? Managing our emotions, our reactions.
Yeah, this is critical because our emotions often lock us into rigid patterns, right? So first, mindfulness meditation. Even just 5 minutes a day. Focusing on your breath, noticing feelings without judgment. This helps you become aware of when you're starting to feel stuck in a thought or an emotion. And crucially, it teaches you to kind of detach from those automatic reactions, giving you space to choose a different response. Second is self-dialogue. When you feel that anxiety rising or feel overwhelmed or just plain stuck, consciously ask yourself a simple question. Okay, wait, do I have other options here? It sounds basic, but that question is surprisingly powerful. It can quickly shift your perspective, pull you back from that emotional edge, and open up possibilities again. Reduces that feeling of being hijacked by the emotion. And third, emotional labeling. Instead of just feeling a big messy cloud of, say, anxiety, try to put words to it, or even percentages. Like, okay, right now I'm feeling maybe 70% anxiety about this upcoming change, but also maybe 30% anticipation or curiosity. Naming the emotions make them feel more concrete, less overwhelming. And somehow, that makes them easier to manage, to adjust, and maybe even let go of. And there's a really nice little reminder in the source material about all this. It says cognitive flexibility isn't like, heavy weightlifting for your muscles. It's more like stretching. Small, consistent daily challenges and practices are what gradually make you more agile, more adaptable over time. It's a process.
What a journey, huh? From the bustling creativity of the Renaissance all the way to the challenges and opportunities of our current AI era. It really hits home that just like those Renaissance folks dared to blend old and new, classical and modern, and accept all these diverse ideas, we also need that same kind of cognitive flexibility today. To adapt to new tools, yes, but also new mindsets, and really a whole new world unfolding. So here's a thought to take with you. Maybe the next time you hit an unexpected bump in the road, a challenge, or even just a small deviation from your plan, why not pause for just a second and ask yourself, what different possibilities do I have here?
Yeah, that simple question, that shift,
Yeah.
that, as the research puts it so well, could be your own modern renaissance. It's about becoming a bit like those cat philosophers you might imagine, wandering through a reimagined school of Athens.
Hmm.
Nimble, adaptable, always landing on your feet, seeing this new world, the AI world, with fresh, curious, and flexible eyes.
Go find your own Renaissance moments. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.